You can go ahead and start.
Sorry, I needed to find my unmute button, and I now need to find my video button. So just hold on 3 seconds while I do all this. Where is all that? I'm so sorry. Just give me a moment. Start video. There we go. All right. So good morning, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Dugan. Welcome to this presentation on Commissions on Disabilities and Advocating for Accessibility and Inclusion throughout our Commonwealth. I am the Assistant Director for Community Services here at the Massachusetts Office on Disability. You can see my contact information. My email is preferred, but you'll also see a general contact form at the end on the end of at the end of the slide deck. So municipal, actually, before I start diving into that, municipal commissions on disabilities are going to play a critical role in ensuring that cities and towns in Massachusetts are accessible, inclusive, and responsive to the needs of people with disabilities. This training, I hope, will explore how CODs are established, their responsibilities, and the legal frameworks that support their work. The Mass Office on Disability, we are a small state agency. We have about 15 people when we're full up, we provide information, guidance, and training on disability-related civil rights as well as architectural accessibility. We help people understand their disability rights and obligations, how regulations apply to specifics to their situation, and practical steps they can take to assert their rights and comply with the law. So when we do this through the information, guidance, and training, just like this training, which hopefully, when we're recorded and stored, it can be used as new members come up to understand how commissions function and their role within the community. Commissions on disability, and so today we're focusing on the role and the importance of commissions on disabilities, or CODs as we typically call them. And you'll hear that acronym, CODs, standing for Commissions on Disability. These commissions are vital in ensuring that voices and the needs of people with disabilities are integrated into the local decision-making process. Commissions on disabilities are municipal bodies that are dedicated to advocating for accessibility and the rights of people with disabilities. Their main goal is to ensure that the needs and concerns of residents with disabilities are taken into account in municipal planning, policies, and programming. By having a local COD, a community can better address barriers to access and create a more inclusive environment for everyone. CODs are established through a formal process, which we'll talk about a little bit later, but either through a vote at town meeting or through city council. And this process is governed through the Massachusetts General Law, or MGL, we'll typically say it, Chapter 40, Section 8J. And you can see that on the slide here, MGL Chapter 40, Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8J, which outlines how a COD should be structured and what it's empowered to do. This law ensures that CODs have a solid foundation for their work and the authority to advise their local authorities. In short, CODs are really a bridge between local governments and the disability community, ensuring that accessibility remains at the forefront of municipal development. With support from MODs, CODs have the resources they need to make a real impact. To start, I'd like to just go over a couple of the state laws that govern commissions on disabilities, which one is Chapter 40, Section 8J of the Mass General Law. And then there's the Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 22G, which we'll talk about. But to fully understand how commissions operate, it's crucial to be familiar with the key state laws that guide their work. These regulations provide the legal foundation for the creation and operation of commissions on disabilities, ensuring that they have the authority they need to advocate for the rights of people with disabilities. They also help municipalities understand their responsibilities for ensuring accessibility compliance with the various disability regulations. With these two laws, Chapter 40, Section 8J, this is the cornerstone legislation for establishing commissions on disabilities across Massachusetts. This law outlines the process for setting up a COD, detailing the structure, sets membership requirements, and responsibilities of these commissions. It mandates that CODs include a majority of members or persons with disabilities to ensure that their work is informed by lived experience. This law also empowers CODs to serve as advisory bodies to local governments, enabling them to offer insight and recommendations on issues. It also gives CODs the authority to work with policy changes that promote greater inclusion and accessibility within their communities. For example, a COD might recommend adjustments to a town emergency response plan to better address the needs of people with mobility-related disabilities. This statute ensures that the voice of the disability community is represented at the local government level. Chapter 40, Section 22G, and we will be talking about the 8J. We'll be going over goals, we'll be going over membership, everything discussed in 8J, but I do want to just kind of give you a feel for what Chapter 40, Section 22G can also do. So any commission that has been formalized under Chapter 40, Section 8J, the town can or city can enact the MGL Chapter 40, Section 22G, and 22G provides a key funding mechanism for commissions. This law allows funds collected from the accessible parking violations to be directed towards accessibility improvements in the community. These funds are managed locally, giving CODs an important role in deciding how that money is spent. For example, a COD may allocate these funds to build an accessible ramp at a community center or to support a municipal program that provides assistive listening technology to the local residents. The flexibility of these funds means that CODs can respond directly to the needs of the community, making tangible improvements that enhance accessibility. This funding source empowers CODs to turn their advocacy into concrete actions, directly benefiting from people with disabilities. So together with these two laws, this provides a legal framework that not only enables the establishment of CODs, but also empowers them to take some action. These laws ensure that CODs can advocate effectively in their community. To establish a Commission on Disabilities, there are a few important steps that towns or cities in Massachusetts need to take. These steps ensure that the community is committed to making accessibility a priority. Establishing a COD is about creating a structure that will address the needs of people with disabilities effectively. And today I'm going to walk you through the key components of this process, from the formal vote to community engagement and the development of internal operating procedures and structures. So the first step in establishing a COD is to hold a formal vote at a town meeting or through City Council. This vote is not to adopt Chapter 40, Section 8J. Through the City Council or through town meeting. This vote is not a procedural step. It's actually a public declaration of the town or city's commitment to improving accessibility. It's crucial because it provides legal authority for the COD to operate and advocate for residents with disabilities. It sets the stage for commissions to identify barriers, propose solutions, and advise the municipality on how to make services, buildings, and public spaces more accessible. And I say the word accessible, I don't just mean physical accessibility. I am also meaning communication and access to programming and things like that. So I know accessibility can be defined in many different ways, but in this context, it's really accessibility in our world as disability accessibility. And that's not just physical access, that's also communication and programmatic access as well. So, however, passing a vote alone is not enough to ensure the success of a COD. A successful COD is built on strong community engagement. This means educating the community about the Commission's purpose and building support for its goals. Effective community engagement might include informational campaigns, public forums, and outreach to local disability advocacy groups. By raising awareness about the COD's role and the importance of accessibility, the community becomes more invested in the COD's mission. The broad base of support is essential for gaining buy-in from residents, which in turn make the COD's recommendations and projects more effective and impactful. Once the vote has been passed and the community is engaged, the next step is establishing these operating procedures and goals that define how the COD will function. This includes creating operating procedures that outline the structure of the COD, such as number of members, their qualifications and their roles and responsibilities. Clear operating procedures ensure the Commission operates transparently and efficiently with well-defined processes for making decisions and setting priorities. For instance, the procedures will detail how the COD meets, how decisions are made, and the process for electing officers like the chairperson, treasurer, or secretary. By having these guidelines in place, the COD can focus on its core mission, advocating for people with disabilities, and ensuring that their needs are considered in municipal planning. Chapter 40, Section 8J also discusses memberships of the Commissions on Disabilities, the composition of CODs. The makeup of commissions is crucial to its effectiveness. And again, this is directly from Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8J. Each Commission on Disability must have between 5 and 13 members, depending on the size and the needs of the municipality. These members are appointed by the mayor, city manager, or board of selectmen, depending on the local governance structure. The majority of COD members must be persons with disabilities, ensuring that the commission is truly representative of the community it serves. Additionally, at least one member should be a family member or guardian of an individual with a disability. And HA specifies one member can be an elected or appointed municipal official to maintain a connection with local government. And COD members serve 3-year terms, and these terms, when initially started, are staggered. So not everyone has to be reappointed at the same time. This means that no more than 1/3 of the commission's membership expires in any given year, and staggering terms ensures continuity, helping retain knowledge and experience within the commissions over time. And continuing on the membership, there's also language in HA that talks about filling vacancies, and vacancies in commissions are filled by the same appointing authority, ensuring that commissions can maintain the numbers and continue with work. Members may be removed for just cause following a formal hearing, a process that helps maintain the integrity of the commission. And finally, the commission can recommend prospective members to their appointing authority, and this allows CODs to ensure that their membership includes individuals who are not only qualified but also committed to carrying out the commission's goals. Some of the roles and responsibilities of commissions, which we will have, I think, a few pages of these as we go through. But now let's explore the key roles and responsibilities for commissions on disabilities. And understanding these will help us appreciate how CODs can effectively advocate for accessibility and inclusion within their communities. First and foremost, CODs act as an advisory bodies to their municipality. They offer recommendations on improving accessibility in local services, programs, and facilities. A major part of this role is helping local governments comply with state and federal disability laws, like the Americans with Disabilities Act and Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. CODs provide input on new projects, ensuring that any construction, renovation, or service adjustments meet accessibility standards. CODs work closely with local officials, departments, and community organizations, which we will get to a little bit further in the slide deck. This collaboration helps identify and address barriers faced by people with disabilities. So, for example, a COD might work with the planning department on designing an accessible public park, or with the local ADA coordinator to ensure communication access is also being provided. By building these relationships, CODs can ensure that accessibility considerations are integrated into the wide range of municipal projects and services. And continuing on that, and we've talked about it a little bit briefly, a little bit already, is that the commissions they play a crucial role in community engagement. They serve as a bridge between the disability community and local government. CODs organize public meetings, surveys, and hearings to gather feedback directly from residents with disabilities. This also ensures that the voices of people with disabilities are not only heard, but actively considered in the local decision making process. Engaging the community also helps CODs identify priority issues and develop solutions to try to reflect the needs of the residents. Through their advisory role, collaborative efforts, and community engagement, CODs can work to make their communities more accessible. And by fulfilling these responsibilities, they can help create a community where people of all abilities can thrive. So I've tried to put together 2 slides, and actually there's a third one at the end, which is a little bit out of place, but I will talk about that one. But for now, I'd like to talk about some of the day-to-day operations of commissions, what we typically see from commissions throughout the Commonwealth. Now, right now, some commissions are a little bit more active than others, so we're looking to kind of build on that relationship. So let's talk about the day-to-day operations of commissions. It's crucial for new COD members and essential for maintaining effective commissions is understanding what commissions actually do. These operational aspects form the backbone of a COD's ability to serve its community and fulfill its mission. The core of COD operations center on regular monthly meetings. Typically, we recommended of 10 meetings a year. And the monthly meetings typically last 1 to 2 hours. These meetings follow a structured format. The chairperson prepares the agenda in advance, incorporating input from the members and addressing current accessibility issues. Subcommittees may meet separately to focus on specific projects or initiatives. Meetings must be held in accessible locations to provide necessary accommodations and comply with our open meeting law as well. And virtual participation options should be considered and used when available and appropriate. Proper documentation from commissions as well ensures transparency and compliance with state laws. Meeting notices must be posted at least 48 hours in advance, including weekends and holidays. Excluding weekends and holidays. And that would be so you can comply with the Massachusetts open meeting law. While I don't think this is a big change, but CODs may want to check locally with their municipal clerk to ensure that additional time is not required on the local level. Maybe a community might require 72 hours instead of 48 hours. Advance notice. Meeting notices. I said that. So the secretary. So that's part of the chairperson's duties. Again, all laid out within Chapter 48J. The secretary maintains detailed minutes of all meetings, including the attendance records, decisions made and votes taken, public comments and concerns raised, and action items and assignments that have been given to either subcommittees or to specific members. Annual reports should detail major accomplishments, ongoing projects, community impact, and future goals and initiatives. The systematic approach to operations helps ensure that CODs can effectively advocate for and serve their communities. And some of the practical COD activities, the effectiveness of a commission depends on consistent attention to regular activities and responsibilities. These practical tasks and duties ensure that the COD remains responsive to community needs while fulfilling, its advocacy role to the community. Effective project management is, I'm not saying a deep dive into project management, but, managing the work that the commission does through project management is essential for tracking and completing the COD's initiatives. Maintaining a centralized system for tracking ongoing accessibility projects is one option. Document and follow up on accessibility complaints and concerns that the commission issues might have been raised to the commissions. Create timeline-based action plans for implementing those recommendations, and establish clear metrics for measuring project successes. You also want to regularly review project statuses during monthly meetings, so that way the subcommittees can come back or individual members can come back and give you an update on what they've been working on for the last month to inform the full commission to then see if they want to continue or move on to another task. CODs engage in several reoccurring activities that support their mission. So CODs typically will be part of the building permit review. They can evaluate new construction or renovation plans. They can provide recommendations for accessibility improvements and coordinate with building department officials. For community response, commissions answer inquiries about accessibility requirements, provide resources and referrals to community members, document and track resolution of community concerns, and maintaining communication with disability advocacy groups. Through the municipal coordination, commissions should have regular meetings with department heads. They should be reviewing municipal programs and services for compliance with accessibility, not just physical, but communication and programming. Input, they should provide input on public works projects and participate in municipal planning initiatives that are happening in your community. Proper financial management ensures maximum impact of available resources. So if you are a commission that collects the 22G HP parking fines, or the accessible parking fines, as I like to use it, so you want to be able to ensure you're tracking all incoming violation revenues, and that's usually through the police department, where they'll give you quarterly or monthly updates, and maybe through the parking clerk as well. So you're going to track all incoming violation revenues, document authorized expenditures that you might spend as a commission. You're going to maintain detailed financial records and ensure the use of those funds are in compliance with Chapter 40, Section 22G, which is really intended not to benefit a singular individual. It's meant to benefit the community as a whole. So municipal projects, municipal devices, technology, that type of stuff is great uses for the accessible parking fines. In financial planning. So if you are one that collects the parking fines and you have funds that roll from year to year, you might want to develop an annual budget proposals. You want to prioritize accessibility projects for funding if you have some funds, even if it's just a little bit to donate towards it. Monitor project expenses and prepare financial reports for municipal authorities. So some of these practical activities form the foundation of a COD's daily operations and its ability to affect positive change in the communities. We're going to move on to sample goals. We have 4 parts of this. It's because AJ separates them out. We wanted to provide a few internal dialogues as well to provide you some information here about this. So the goals of a Commission on Disability are designed to improve accessibility across all aspects of municipal life. Let's take a look at some key goals that many CODs strive to achieve. And these are based on the items mentioned within Chapter 40, Section 8J. So CODs should work closely with municipal staff to ensure that all services, programs, meeting, and employment opportunities are accessible. This includes reviewing facilities like buildings, sidewalks, and public spaces to ensure they comply with the ADA or our state building code, accessibility codes. CODs can recommend improvements, such as adding ramps, installing accessible restrooms, improving communication access through sign language interpreters, or materials in alternate formats. And another important goal for CODs is to ensure that local businesses and organizations are accessible to people with disabilities. This often involves conducting accessibility audits or site visits, which can help identify any architectural or communication barriers that need to be addressed. And CODs also play a role in educating business owners about tax incentives available for making accessibility improvements, such as the IRS's tax deduction for barrier removal and tax credit for providing communication access. So small businesses, there are criteria for that tax credit, but a lot of small businesses can, in fact, use some of that and take advantage of those. Sample goals part 2 on this slide. We want to ensure that transportation and mobility are essential for independence, and CODs may survey public parking lots and streets to assess the availability of accessible parking and compliant sidewalks and curb cuts. They may also collaborate with regional transit authorities to improve transportation services for individuals with disabilities, ensuring that buses, trains, and public transit systems are compliant and accessible. CODs also, affordable and accessible housing is also crucial for the independence of individuals with disabilities, and CODs can work closely with local housing authorities and developers to prioritize the inclusion of accessible units in new construction and renovation projects. And CODs also serve as information hubs for people with disabilities, offering guidance and referrals to individuals, businesses, and public agencies. CODs maintain repositories of state, local, and federal resources, helping individuals find support in the areas like healthcare, housing, transportation, and much more. On sample goals part 3, we are also, commissions are working with local, commissions can work with local advocacy groups such as independent living centers and can advise on local laws and policies that support the rights and needs of people with disabilities. By working closely with the advocacy groups, CODs can help shape policies that have a direct and positive impact on their communities. CODs are dedicated, as we had talked about earlier, to public education, CODs raise awareness about disability issues through outreach programs, media campaigns, and community events. And it's important for CODs to stay organized by adopting clear internal operating procedures and establishing both short-term and long-term goals. Delegating tasks between meetings helps maintain progress and ensures that initiatives do not stall. Understanding the scope of the disability population in your community is also essential. CODs use tools like state census data. Sometimes they'll send out resident surveys, or you can also use tools like the state census data, as well as the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency's population vulnerability map to estimate the percentage of residents with disabilities based on the 2020 census. This information is based off of the American Community Survey. So it's a limited, look at what they do, but it gives you a nice starting number. And this information can help prioritize initiatives made by the community. The vulnerability map, which we do have a link on our resource slide, can really track, people with disabilities by different disability types, by age groups, and different other considerations that you can look at, and can also help guide what a commission would do. And finally, on the sample COD goals part 4 slide, CODs should engage directly with the community to identify barriers faced by people with disabilities. This can be done by distributing surveys. Again, as you can tell, there's a lot of public involvement, and that's crucial for commissions. It's really to be involved, to do that. You really want to get the public involved, as well as get other departments involved. But doing this by distributing surveys or holding public hearings, both methods provide valuable feedback and suggestions for improving local accessibility. Collaboration is also key to achieving broader goals. So by working with organizations like the local Veterans Office, Planning Board, Council on Aging, CPACs, the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, and with other CODs. CODs can pool resources and address common issues more efficiently, and this creates a more unified approach to disability advocacy. Commissions have also been able to form groups like Friends of the Commission on Disability that can be incredibly useful to increase support for local COD initiatives. If you're interested in that, reach out to MOD and you can talk about what that might entail. So with all of these goals, how do we as MOD support CODs? And this is our declaration today, really, on how we are hoping to help CODs function now and in the future. So the MOD we play a vital role in supporting the success of commissions on disabilities at the local level. MOD goals are to ensure that each COD has the resources, the guidance, and the training that it needs to effectively advocate for and address the needs of people with disabilities. Once a COD is established, it doesn't work alone. MOD is critical in supporting CODs across the state. We provide training, as I said, technical assistance and best practice guidance to help CODs fulfill their missions. And we also host statewide COD meetings, Commission on Disability meetings, offering CODs the opportunity to collaborate, share experiences, and learn from one another. MOD provides essential guidance and resources to towns and cities throughout the entire process of forming and operating a commission. This includes sample operating guidance and templates for setting goals. MOD's involvement doesn't end with the creation of the COD. We continue to offer support through the Commission's operations. MOD also offers training programs and technical assistance to ensure that COD members are fully equipped to meet the needs of their communities, whether it's understanding the intricacies of state and federal disability laws or learning how to advocate for local policy changes effectively. We are here to provide the tools and knowledge CODs need to be effective. So use us as a resource, please. And about those statewide Commission on Disability meetings, so it's a platform to collaborate. So we facilitate these meetings virtually across the Commonwealth. These statewide meetings are designed to provide essential platforms for collaboration, learning, and networking, among other CODs. This year, there are two currently being planned, one in April and I believe one in September. And both will be very similar in nature, as we'll be discussing the same topics, but we wanted to offer up 2 dates so commissions could join either of them and get the same information provided to them. So these meetings will bring together representatives from CODs in different municipalities. By participating, CODs can exchange ideas, share challenges, and discuss their best practices for promoting accessibility. This is a great opportunity to hear from other communities and see what initiatives are working across the state, and maybe the ones that aren't working. MOD uses these meetings, the statewide meetings, to keep CODs informed about any changes in the legal landscape, such as updates to the Americans with Disabilities Act, updates to Section 504 or 521 CMR, which is our state building code for accessibility, as well as digital accessibility and PROAG, just to name a few. By staying up to date on relevant regulations, CODs can better advocate for compliance and improvements. So these meetings foster collaboration across municipalities, allowing CODs to coordinate on larger efforts such as statewide accessibility campaigns or collective advocacy for legislative changes. By working together, CODs can amplify their impact and drive more effective outcomes for people with disabilities across Massachusetts. So you've heard some resources and some guidance of who you should be meeting with, but I want to also call out 3 specifically, actually 4, but I only have 3 slides that talk about these resources for commissions. So the first one I want to talk about is the Centers for Independent Living. They are important community-based nonprofits that advocate for independence and inclusion of people with disabilities. They are unique because they are run for and by people with disabilities, providing services that empower individuals and help them live independently. There are 10 CILs across Massachusetts, CILs being the shorthand for Centers for Independent Living, each serving a designated region. They offer critical services such as advocacy, peer support, information and referral, and training in independent living skills. These services align with the core values of promoting equal opportunities and independence for people with disabilities. CILs, they present a valuable collaboration opportunities for commissions on disabilities, and CODs can leverage the expertise of CILs to inform municipal policies, participate in training programs, coordinate the outreach efforts, and share resources. And by doing so, CODs can make a greater impact on their local accessibility initiatives. For a successful partnership, you're going to hear this throughout for all of these recommended kind of resources for you that are local. These CODs can strengthen their advocacy and enhance community support and collectively promote greater independence and accessibility by working with them. And steps you can take to effectively collaborate with your local CIL is should identify which local CIL serves your community, establish communication channels, attend joint meetings, and develop shared initiatives. These collaborative steps help ensure that the needs of people with disabilities are being prioritized. So that is a great resource for you. If you've never tapped into the knowledge and resources of a Center for Independent Living, reach out to your local one. And I think on the last slide where resources are, there's a link to find your Center for Independent Living. So from Independent Living, we'll move on to your local municipal ADA coordinator, which is also a great resource for commissions on disabilities. And ADA coordinators are appointed to ensure compliance with the Americans with Disabilities Act at the municipal level. They play a critical role in preventing and addressing accessible barriers in public programs, services, spaces, and employment. In each municipality, the ADA coordinator is responsible for addressing questions and complaints related to accessibility, ensuring that the ADA standards are met across public programs. They work directly with community members and municipal officials to inform them of these standards. The ADA coordinator is a key partner for commissions, and by working together, CODs can gain expert guidance on ADA compliance. They can access technical assistance and enhance the local government's ability to address accessibility concerns effectively. Again, to foster an effective partnership, CODs should reach out to the local ADA coordinator, arrange regular joint meetings where the ADA coordinator may come to your commission meeting monthly or every other month to give some updates, as well as developing shared goals, such as improving local infrastructure accessibility or educating the public about disability rights. And collaborating with the ADA coordinator strengthens COD initiatives and helps ensure that accessibility concerns are addressed proactively. And the final one I wanted to share, or close to the final one I wanted to share, was a resource for CODs, the local building inspectors. Building inspectors play a critical role in ensuring that buildings and facilities in Massachusetts meet the accessibility requirements. Their expertise in building codes, is in building codes, and as well as particularly 521 CMR, which is the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board's rules and regulations. And he makes them essential partners for CODs in promoting accessibility. So building inspectors are responsible for reviewing building plans, issuing permits, and conducting inspections to ensure compliance with state building codes. They serve as the primary enforcers of accessibility requirements in new construction and renovation projects, making their role crucial in creating accessible communities. I do want to point out, just as a reminder, typically local building inspectors, not typically, but local building inspectors are not enforcers of the ADA design standards. They are only enforcing the state building codes, which does include 521 CMR, our state codes to comply with for accessibility. But they are the local enforcers of that. They don't cover the ADA, but they do cover our state building code. So having them in your corners is a great addition, because they might be able to solve any sort of structural issue that the commission might become aware of. So obviously with collaborative efforts, you want building inspectors work closely with CODs to review building permit applications for accessibility compliance, conduct site inspections to verify proper implementation. Building inspectors and commissions can address accessibility concerns raised by the community before the construction starts or the renovation starts. And they can ensure that renovations and new construction meets all applicable codes. So working alongside the building inspector before a municipality signs off on a project, the CODs and the building inspector can do an architectural access review to ensure that everything that was constructed and agreed upon is compliant with all of the applicable codes. CODs can benefit from building inspectors' technical knowledge in several ways, understanding the complex code requirements, navigating the variance processes when needed, identifying practical solutions for accessibility challenges that might be faced, and staying informed about changes to building codes and regulation. And as I've been saying for all of it, to build a strong working relationship, you want regular communications with the local building inspector. You want to build that relationship. You want to participate in preliminary plan reviews, and you want to share community feedback on accessibility issues that are raised. And I don't have a slide for this. However, I also just want to point out an additional resource. Other CODs, other commissions on disabilities are some are very well operated. Some are, still trying to figure out their goals and objectives. So, there's all this variance and levels of effectiveness throughout the Commonwealth with commissions. And what we're hoping through these statewide meetings and this kind of repush for clarifying how commissions are made and operate. CODs are a valuable resource for other CODs. So commissions can be a resource, and I would suggest strongly reaching out to your neighbors, neighboring communities that have commissions. You can visit our COD webpage, which we are still in developing, but we are adding more and more resources there as well, and trying to create some networking opportunities, which we're going to have to figure out. But we are also kind of unique to this training. I am looking for CODs who may want to be mentor CODs for other commissions who may be starting up or may be struggling. If the membership here is interested in being a mentor commission, please just reach out to me and I will work with you on figuring out how we make that fit on our webpage and fit on our sharing so that we can try to facilitate some of that. So everything we've talked to, I'm sorry. Did I not switch to building inspectors? I'm sorry if I didn't. But here's the building inspector slide. But all of these things that we're talking about are relevant to civil rights laws for CODs to be familiar with. And in fact, there are really just two of them I want to focus on today. One being the Americans with Disabilities Act, and for people who might be unfamiliar with the ADA, it was enacted in 1990 and is one of the most comprehensive civil rights laws protecting people with disabilities. It ensures equal access to public services, employment, transportation, and public accommodations, including private businesses. CODs are critical in helping their communities understand and adhere to ADA standards, which apply to public buildings, businesses, recreation facilities, and municipal services. For instance, a COD might work with a local library or city hall to ensure that communication access is available for community members who are deaf or hard of hearing. This could include installing assistive listening systems in meeting rooms, providing video relay services for virtual meetings, and making sure that public announcements are accompanied by real-time captioning or sign language interpreters. The other law that is really want to be relevant to commissions is the 521 CMR, Massachusetts Building Accessibility Code. 521 CMR stands for Code of Massachusetts Regulations. It governs building accessibility in Massachusetts. This code is developed and enforced by the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board, and it sets detailed standards for making public buildings and facilities accessible to people with disabilities. The goal is to ensure that everyone has equal access to public spaces, whether it's a town hall, a movie theater, housing development, a doctor's office, park, town library, or a school. CODs play an important role in the local review of building projects to ensure compliance with 521 CMR. And for example, suppose a new municipal building is being constructed or an existing one is being renovated. In that case, the COD may review the plans to ensure that features like the ramps, entrances, restrooms, and audiovisual alarms meet the required standards. This review can help prevent accessibility issues before they become costly problems and really ensure that communities are welcoming to all residents. The accessibility codes, if you've ever heard of the curb cut effect, these accessibility codes kind of have that effect where once you build it, people use it. Curb cuts are not only for wheelchair users, but people who use wheelchairs. I'm so sorry. Not just for them, but they're for people who might be struggling with, Achilles tendonitis. That's a temporary issue, or parents with strollers, or other types of devices. You'll see that the general public will use these accessibility features more and more because it's universal access and it's easier to use sometimes. So with that, that was part one. We're going to move on to civil rights laws for CODs to be familiar with. So there's two more I want to talk about, really one more I want to talk about. Then I want to link you to a lot of the disability rights laws by topic. It's a great resource we have on our website. But first, so Section 504 is the federal civil rights law that prohibits discrimination against individuals with disabilities in any program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. This can include public schools, transportation systems, and local government services that receive federal funding. CODs are responsible for helping their communities ensure compliance with 504, making sure that municipal services, programs, and facilities are accessible to all residents. For example, a COD might work with a public transportation service that receives federal funding to ensure bus routes, stops, and vehicles are accessible to people with disabilities. This can include advocating for accessible buses equipped with ramps or lifts, audible and visual stop announcements, and ensuring that bus shelters are reachable via accessible pathways. By guiding such services towards compliance with Section 504, CODs can help ensure that residents with disabilities can travel freely and participate fully in their community. And visit our website, our disability rights laws page by topic on our website and I believe the website is linked at the resource one, but it's mass.gov/MOD, standing for Mass Office on Disability, /disability rights. As a note, state laws typically provide more protection than federal laws. And there are a lot of topics covered on that page, such as housing, employment, disability rights and government services, etc. Check it out. It's a great page that's been developed. Before I get to the resources slide, and I'm going to tell you, I hope I didn't talk too fast for the ASL and CART reporters. But before we go to the resources page, I wanted to go first to the last slide, which is common pitfalls for commissions to be aware of. And sometimes as you start out, this may be a good kind of thing to focus on to make sure that these pitfalls are being avoided. So commissions really want to So as has been discussed throughout this presentation, it's essential to remember that the role of a COD is advisory. Just want to make sure everyone is aware of that. They are an advisory role. We are not in a position, CODs are not in a position to provide unless you really have specialized members, individualized guidance. Instead, they should really be maintaining a broader perspective, focusing on how our advice can influence policies and systems at a higher level. One of the things CODs sometimes struggle with is unclear goals, and this can really hinder a COD's effectiveness. I encourage everyone to refer to MOD's sample COD guidelines and goals as a starting point. It's vital to consider the expertise within your Commission on Disabilities, as well as the unique needs of your community. This approach ensures that the goals are both realistic and impactful. And be explicit about what your Commission is available for or not available for. Clear communication helps manage expectations and ensure that people know exactly what they can contact you about. Outline the support you're willing to provide and stick to those parameters. The clarity will help streamline the Commission's efforts and enhance the COD's effectiveness. Let me scroll back 2 slides back to the other resources. I'm going to be very brief here, but please visit our MOD COD webpage at mass.gov/MOD/COD, standing for Commission on Disability. We have our sample operating guidelines and goals link here on the slide deck as well, and I believe they're also available on the COD page. If you want to find your local Center for Independent Living, you want to go to mass.gov/MOD/CILS. That will get you to some of that, and you can help find your Centers for Independent Living there. ADA.gov is the federal landing for all things ADA, so that's an interesting site to have bookmarked. The Title II Action Guide is a really great resource for understanding Title II obligations for a state or local government, as well as, as well as we've provided ADA checklist for existing facilities. And this checklist was produced by the New England ADA Center and the Institute for Human-Centered Design. And what they've done is taking all of the ADA design standards, the 2010 to be specific, and they have simply come up with a guide that asks simple yes or no questions about compliance. Is this blah or blah? If yes, good. If no, make a note, take a picture, and here's some possible fixes. It's a great resource, especially if you've never done an audit of a building yourself. So if, let's say, a commission gets asked about, hey, can you measure the bathrooms in City Hall to ensure that they're compliant with the ADA? This ADA checklist will help you do that. And disability rights guidances, we have MOD/MOD/disability rights. Again, it's a great resource on our webpage, and our webpage is constantly being updated with new fact sheets, new guidance, new information. So peruse our website every so often to take that. And finally, what I would like to offer before we open up for questions, should there be any, MOD is here to work with commissions. As you probably most will already know, MOD will come out at this time virtually to meet with commissions on disabilities individually and to work through some of this stuff that I've trained on today, but a little bit more personalized for the commissions, for each commission. So if you want that, please reach out to myself. Again, my contact info is on the slide deck, so reach out to mass.gov/MOD/contact. You can also do that by calling our 617-727-7440. And also, before you even do that, take a look at the website because your questions might be answered already. But if you have further questions on what you read, give us a call. We will definitely help you. But for commissions who want me to come out, please reach out to me directly or reach out to us on the contact. And I will reach back out to see when a meeting might be appropriate. So with that, I want to thank everyone. Before we go to questions, I just want to thank everyone for their help. I want to thank the ASL and CART reporters for their help in providing this accessible training. And I will pause now. Should I stop sharing, Lilia, or should I? Why don't I stop sharing so we can come back?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, everyone. We've got some great questions in the Q&A, so I'm going to start reading those. We also have Julia O'Leary, MOD's General Counsel, here to help with answering some of the questions. So I'll get right into it. First question, 22G is not to be used for improvements that the city is responsible for, like fixing a sidewalk. is that true? And can you clarify this for new members that we can add to accessibility, but we do not use our funds for fixing roads, etc.?
So the monies need to be used to solely for the benefit of people with disabilities within your community. So what you choose to use those funds on are your choice, the commission's choice. I would not, you're not paying for repaving a street, but you're going to be, you might be offering some monies to install a curb cut where one might be missing in a project, or hopefully through your review, you could have caught that and indicated that to the building inspector or the design team. With that said, 22G requires that you abide by the anti-amendment use of those funds. So it has to be used for public good. It has to be used for municipal projects, and it has to be used or services or programs or technology for the municipality. You can use those funds for that. If you as a commission have decided we're not going to fund a repair of something that's not compliant, that is definitely within the control of the commission, but commissions can do that if they so choose. If they want to fund, okay, we're missing a curb cut because the developer's done and gone and we, the town's going to have to fund it, the commission could help fund that project if they so wished. Again, so there's no restrictions on the use of the funds with the exception of it has to be for municipal related things. And hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Next question, could you give an example of how a COD might work with a municipality on spending CDBG funds for the removal of architectural barriers? And if you could also say what CDBG stands for those who might not.
Sure. So hopefully I got the question. You might have you repeat it, Lily, if I get off track and I forget what the question was. But CDBG is Community Development Block Grant funds that are sometimes communities get those automatically depending on their demographics and makeup. Some of communities can apply for CDBG funds for certain reasons, and the CDBG funding grant cycle is very competitive, but it opens up and for communities that are not automatically receiving those funds, they would have to apply for a grant. Commissions on disabilities working with their local municipality, that's really where you want to build that relationship with your department heads. Maybe not everyone in town, but at least the good ones. You want to know who your CDBG coordinator is, and commissions can work with them to at least let them know what the commission has heard of to see if that might help fund a priority, like a grant, or using some of the CDBG funds to do some of the commission's goals. Again, it's a little bit different, but the parking fines can be used as well for municipal improvements, even where they're not doing work. But CDBG can help with some structural. I think they can help with some planning stuff for accessibility. I would also be very remiss if I didn't tell you about the Municipal ADA Improvement Grant Program that we have here at the Massachusetts Office on Disability that's run through the Administration and Finance. But we offer money back to communities who apply through our competitive grant program to give money back to help a community either redo or update or create their detailed self-evaluation and transition plan, as well as we can fund municipal projects for either accessibility technology or for barrier removal, including both physical access as well as communication access. So there's different streams out there, and I'm sorry if I've deviated from the CDBG, but yes, the commission can definitely offer up some suggestions to the CDBG, and being part of that team can help. Again, I'm not sure Commonwealth-wide how many CODs are doing that, but it is definitely something you can do.
Thank you. We know that CODs must follow the open meeting law. Are they also required to follow Robert's rules, or is that dictated by the municipality?
I might have to go to Julia for the Robert's rules, but I think typically
there's no requirement, Jeff. This is Julia. There's no requirement that CODs follow Robert's rules unless it's required by the municipality. So I would recommend that the COD chair check with town council. And if the town doesn't have a rule about it, then it would be up to the chair whether to use Robert's rules.
All right. Thank you, Julia.
And for those who aren't familiar with them, Robert's Rules of Orders is just sort of a convention for how meetings are run.
Thank you. And yes, compliance with open meeting law is critical. And commissions, under the open meeting law, do have the ability to meet. There's some remoteness that's allowed through the open meeting law, although most commissions are meeting virtually now during this time. So, but we'll see where that goes. All right.
I'm going to put in a plug here for our Commissions on Disability page on MOD's website. So it has step-by-step instructions for starting a COD if you are interested in that, but also some sample operating guidelines and goals for CODs that serve as a nice kind of starting point for thinking through your own, how you want to run your COD. And a link to that is in the resource slide and also will be in the follow-up email. Next, we have a pretty big question. What does the process look like to create a policy review and advise on other policies? We have a select board.
Well, I would think that working with your select board, finding your liaison from your governing body, right? For you, it's the select board. So typically, a board of selectmen will assign certain members to be the liaison to the Commission on Disabilities. So making sure that you're keeping that person involved and communicated with and asking for help with them can be a really good resource for you. Lilia, can I just ask you to specify the direct question about that? I'm sorry, I just...
Sorry, I'm just looking for it. It was about the process, what that process would look like to review policy. What does the process look like to create a policy review and advise on other policies? We have a select board.
Yeah, so working with your select board liaison or your liaison or your appointing authority directly, you want to work with certain department heads to really work on creating that networking opportunity. So you can become part of the planning process. So commissions or the chairperson or a member of the commission, should be reaching out if there are, if you want people to have connections with the select board, with DPW, with, a lot of the other local governances that can help, like the planning board, and as policies are being created, reviewing the agendas for all of these departments is probably one of the strongest things you can do. Is looking at the agenda, seeing if there are topics that you have some questions about as a commission, and potentially providing comment back to the appointing authority or the liaison to the commission. To start that, you really just want to talk to your appointing authority. You want to let them know that you as a commission want to connect with these policy setting groups in town, and how can you be part of that? Typically, they'll be more than willing to appoint a commission member to those public bodies that would do it. And specifically for, process changes and things like that, that might be at the select board level. You might be looking for building stuff. You might be getting plans given to you, becoming one of the sign-offs or planning projects that are happening. So you'd review project plans. I know in Scituate, where I am a commission member myself, I am the person that reviews the plans for city and municipal projects that happen. So I provide feedback back to the town, telling them that here's some concerns that I've seen, and things that might want to be remedied. And if they want further information, they can reach out, and I give them the specifics of what I found. Now, that's my expertise. Doesn't mean every commission has that expertise, but it's something you and I, MOD, and the commissions can work on developing that skill. There are many training opportunities that can happen, but really working with department heads that you want to be involved with, that's who you should be contacting. I would say the chairperson first, and really working with your appointing authority or your liaison. You want to make sure that you tell them what you're interested in. I'm interested in reviewing housing policies in the housing authority, or I'm reviewing municipal parking lots and what the policies are that you're setting there. And, employment policies, you could, if you've got some knowledge in that as well. So it's really something that you just really want to focus in on who you want to talk with, and getting permission from your appointing authority or your liaison. 9 out of 10 times, they are very open to receiving that willingness. So if you run into some difficulties, reach out, let me know, and we'll work with you on your specific kind of barriers that might be there.
Next, your presentation stressed that CODs are advisory, provide recommendations, etc. Do they have any standing in reinforcement? How can the COD ensure that the laws, such as the ADA, are followed?
So you are correct. You are 100% correct. Commissions on disabilities are advisory. They are not enforcement bodies. They are typically made up of local residents volunteering their time to do this. While they are knowledgeable individuals and while the bodies are intended to be that, like a double check and a way for the public to communicate some of these related concerns for people with disabilities, CODs do not enforce the laws. That's where, when you have the public support behind you, when you have your department heads behind you, that you build those trusts, you build those relationships, and you then would be working with them on their projects and be more open to receiving your advisories, advisories. And if it's something really egregious, then you want to bring it to the department head directly. You want to bring it to your appointing authority directly, and you may, because if it's ADA related, you might want to bring it to your ADA coordinator. Local municipal ADA coordinator. And if you're running into some other issues, you can also give us a call and we can try to help you figure out a strategy to help. Remember, your building inspector, your ADA coordinator, other CODs, as well as Centers for Independent Living are wonderful resources too if you get into roadblocks. But again, CODs are only advisory. They are not enforcement agencies. Thank you. Good question. It's one we get a lot. So.
Yeah, and I'll put in another plug for our website, particularly our disability rights page. We have a section on disability rights and government services and some resources for municipal ADA coordinators that cover municipal ADA obligations. So you can learn more about what municipalities are legally required to do, and your ADA coordinator. It's also a good resource. Someone had asked about how to find their ADA coordinator. We have a public listing on our website. It doesn't include every municipality, so if you don't see yours on there, check your city or town website or with your city or town clerk. Next, another related to the open meeting law. Can you touch base on the requirement that CODs comply with open meeting laws and need to be careful about discussion of issues outside of official meetings? Our commission has been very cognizant of that.
Yes. I'm wondering if Julia might want to pop on, but my basic answer is that when you are conducting your meetings, that's where all the work is done. If you open subcommittees, you will have open meeting law requirements for the subcommittee meetings if there's more than just one person working on a project. So open meeting law is very strict and very strong on what they require. And deliberation, which is like emails, other than agenda setting or putting up issues to be discussed at the next commission meeting, you want to stay away from meeting outside, going for coffee as a group, and discussing commission business. Anywhere you might meet up with 3 or 4 other members at a supermarket. I'm just saying because it can't happen. Where you don't want it, you can talk about the groceries, the price of eggs, and everything else that's of concern or of what you're looking for, but you cannot talk about official commission business. That work has to be discussed at an open meeting, following the open meeting law, which requires notice to the public in advance of that discussion. So, did I miss anything, Julia? I hope not.
No, I think I think the general rule of thumb is that you shouldn't be discussing commission business with a quorum of members outside of a posted open meeting. The Attorney General's website has a schedule of open meeting law trainings that their office puts on. And those are excellent trainings, and I would really encourage commission members to sign up for one of those trainings. I think there's one coming up in early February that goes deeper into the rules of open meeting law that we can hear today. But in general, yes, you should reserve discussion of those topics for the posted public meeting.
Thank you.
Somewhat related, when COD members are advocating out in the community, for example, at a CPAC meeting or at a school committee meeting, or in a one-on-one conversation with the city council member, can they speak on behalf of the COD, or do they need a vote from the members to say they are officially advocating on behalf of the COD?
That's a great question. I would strongly urge that your actions that you take should be through the chair. The chairperson should be aware of what you as a member might be doing. So if you're going to meet with us like let's say the select board liaison, and it's only going to be you, you want to make sure that the commission knows about it and this was planned, right? It's not something that you just came up with. You want to discuss that at a meeting, and then you can have. I would suggest votes for everything just because it's safer and it's cleaner. So if you make a vote at that regular COD meeting to say James is going to go meet with the select board liaison to discuss this policy or this issue, and then that person will report back to us at the next meeting. And that motion's made, seconded, and then that person now has the directive or the assignment to go discuss. It shouldn't be something ad hoc. It really should be something coordinated through the COD meetings, which means things are going to slow down a little bit, but that's on purpose because, we need to ensure that the laws are being met. People are aware of what we're doing and things like that. So voting at a commission meeting to do that, while it might take an extra meeting to do, you want to vote it out so you know exactly what this person's assignment is.
Quick follow-up, and you might have addressed this already, but is there any difference there if you are the chair of the COD?
As the chair, and Julie might have some comments on this as well, but as the chair, I would definitely follow that same process. Whether you are the chair making that discussion and want to do that, you should make that motion or you should ask for somebody to make a motion on that behalf for you to go meet with your liaison or DPW department or whoever. And then just follow the same voting procedure. That way the assignment is given to the chairperson. And there's not saying anything can't be done ad hoc. If you run into somebody who has a quick question about a curb cut slope or what an assistive listening device would do, obviously those conversations are fine, but you want to make sure everything comes back to the public meeting to say we've had this discussion, even if it is ad hoc. But you should really plan to schedule those meetings at a COD meeting. And Julia, I'll pause for a moment.
This is Julia. I think Jeff is giving great guidance here. The only thing that I would add is that, for questions about how things should run in terms of your relationship with town government or city government, I would really encourage board members to talk to their appointing authority about that. So talk to your mayor's office, talk to your select board, your town manager, because they can help you understand how to fit in to the government structure in your community better than we can up at MOD. I'd also encourage board members to talk to your town council. They're there to ask your questions about open meeting, or to answer, your questions about open meeting law. And they're in a better position to give you legal advice on open meeting law compliance than our office is.
And thank you, Julia. So yeah, follow Julia's recommendation. But again, following it through the vote at the meeting is also an option. But you definitely want to talk to your local people to figure out exactly what they might be requiring on the local level. So thank you for that feedback, Julia.
Another question probably for Julia. What is the Digital Accessibility and Equity Governance Board, and how is it a resource to CODs?
Really great question. So in July of 2023, Governor Healy issued an executive order establishing the Digital Accessibility and Equity Governance Board, making sure I got my acronym right. And that board advises the Commonwealth on matters around digital accessibility. There isn't a lot of interaction right now between that board And the municipalities, their work is really focused at the state level right now. They do have monthly board meetings that are published on their website. So if you're interested in learning more, you can certainly attend one of those public meetings. I can get Lilia the link to that. They have a great website that has resources about the new Department of Justice regulations around digital accessibility for public entities. So that would be a good resource for folks. And I think in the future, they're thinking of doing more work with the municipalities, but right now they're sort of just getting started. And so their bandwidth is limited and they are focusing on the state level right now. But I can drop some links into the chat.
Thanks. And we will send a follow-up email with the recording and all of these links too. It looks like there is a lot of interest around when are COD members operating as individual advocates and when are they operating as members of the COD? Do they just identify themselves as such? Or can they operate solely in the community, solely as advocates? Kind of how do you make that distinction?
So, and again, I'm going to probably ask Julia, but you can stay there and then come on if I'm saying something egregiously wrong. But my thought is on this, that when commission members want to advocate or when people want to join a commission on disabilities, they are joining the municipal kind of government structure, right? You're typically a special employee by the town. So typically what I will advocate for members of a commission who want to advocate for things. One, I don't think there's anything stopping you. You just need to clarify that. But I try to put in the little onus that you are on the Commission on Disabilities. So your advocacy, at least for the municipal related things and some of the private business stuff that the COD might take on, you want to work within their perimeters, which means, remember, they're advising, they're kind of guiding, they're offering the solution. So if you're a member of a commission, you want to follow at least the procedural parts of how government options, which means you might not be as an individual filing a building code complaint against the municipality since you're a member of the Commission on Disabilities. I mean, that's why I'm saying working with those resources, you can usually get some stuff. Your local CIL, and we can help you with some of these issues. We can also your local ADA coordinator and your local building inspector can usually resolve or be part of that solution process on the local level each and every time. So if you find a business that didn't do something correct, go to your building inspector. You find something that the municipal programming isn't accessible in some way, go to your local ADA coordinator if they have one. If you're looking for policy change on the state level or work on initiatives that your local Center for Independent Living is working on or promoting, then you want to go work with them. But as a commission member, you're raised up a little bit to you are a special town employee. So I try to, with that, you don't always want to file against who you've been, who you're involved with. You don't want to file complaints like that. But again, I guess, Julia, I would ask one simple question. Would there be I mean, I always I'm sorry, I'm running into a little bit of a botch because it's really my personal opinion where if I'm serving on a commission, I'm going to work proactively with the community, not reactively or filing complaints. But that's just my opinion. And I think, as a public body, that's why I've chosen to do that, because I'm on a public body. And I will work with the public body to try to resolve those issues that I raise, or with the other advocacy groups out there that might help you with your concerns, like the Centers for Independent Living or other department heads. So
no, I think you're on the right track, Jeff. This is Julia. This isn't a legal answer, but more a practical answer. But I think that you're going to get, when you're appointed by a public body to serve on a local board, you're going to get more done if you can effectively leverage your relationships in your community. And that means figuring out how to work with the municipality. And so a lot of the work that a board does, because it's a political creature, is going to be political, right? And so you need to have those relationships at the local level, with the other boards in your town, with the staff in or city, and with the municipal staff. So I think you're right on, Jeff, that there isn't some requirement that you be conciliatory towards the local government, but I think that you're going to be a lot more effective as a board member if you can figure out how to partner with them, and develop trust and good working relationships.
And again, I will offer our resource as well, that if you have questions that you're concerned about, or you're seeing something that's not right, that you feel it's not right, and you would want to, would lead you to do that self-advocacy, which, again, we'd want to talk about, but we can at least be the listening sounding board for you and figure out if there's potential avenues for you, and figure out how we could best maybe educate you on the situation you're facing. So reach out to us as well, please. Thank you. So that was a long answer for probably a basic. Typically, if you're on a commission, I would stay away from doing some big self-advocacy stuff, because you're on a public body. Okay.
Thank you. We'll be on until 11:30.
One last point on that is that,
Yep.
This is Julie again. I would just make sure that you're not sort of running afoul of the state ethics laws and using your position on that public body for personal gain.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. We've got about another 10 minutes. I don't know if we'll be able to get to all of the questions. So again, fill out our contact form online or leave us a voicemail, particularly if you have a specific situation you want to discuss in depth. If you see any questions in the Q&A right now that you'd like us to answer, there is a thumbs up option that'll move it higher up in the queue and let me know that people are interested in it. Is voting on positions, chair, secretary, etc., within a COD determined solely by the procedures within the individual COD? And how often should voting of positions occur?
All right, that is a good question. Let me start with how often you vote in those positions. In Scituate, we do it every year. Where we have a meeting, we're election of officers. And at that meeting, prior to that meeting, the month before at the meeting, we're saying, we're going to be voting for officers. So if people are interested and want to nominate people, by all means, come to the next meeting and we can do that. So at the next meeting, members will show up. It's typically you get to that point on the agenda, and then you typically will say, does anybody want to have any nominees for chairperson? And then people will do it. People will vote through the appropriate process, and then the chairperson is selected, and that chairperson then takes control of the meeting. Then you go on for the other officers, your vice chair, and again, all of these are nominated by members. I believe the chair can also nominate members as well if they're interested. And then the membership votes. Clear majority is all you really need. And then those are assigned tasks, the treasurer, secretary, and the vice chair, who then take over the roles immediately at that time. So vote in the chair first, and it's just through nominations. And the chair can nominate themselves. People can nominate themselves. There's nothing preventing that. So
there isn't sort of a fixed rule, though, around how often you have to do that. I think your municipality might have rules about it.
Yes,
so I would again check with your appointing authority and town council about how that works in your municipality. It doesn't necessarily have to follow a certain pattern that's going to be the same across municipal lines. So I would check with your government.
That brings up a good point, Julia. When in Scituate, we used to do it every 2 years, elections of officers, but now the community our appointing authority asked us to do it yearly. So now we're doing it every year. So it's again, I think it's flexible, but talk to your local appointing authority to figure out that process. So it could be even longer, but usually it's a year and 2 years or something for that, somewhere in between there. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Quick
Every
sort of,
I'm sorry, every appointed member has voting rights, equal voting rights. So, you know, obviously people who might be your liaison or other non-appointed members will not have a vote at the commission. It's purely voting, the membership does.
sort of a follow-up to that. Could you review the expected composition of individuals that make up a COD regarding disability status?
Let me just clarify the question. Is that question asking how do we ensure that the seats are filled appropriately with members that meet what 40HA describes, like a majority of members with people with disabilities, a family member?
I think
Why don't you start with just describing the HA requirements, and then
okay. Yep, which we did in the slide deck. But basically, there's a certain membership. A majority of people need to be people with disabilities on the commission. One member should be a town appointed member, and one member should be a family member or a legal guardian of someone, of a direct family member living or with them. So those members, let me just see where it was. What was the point of the question again? I'm sorry.
I think they are just looking for clarification on what the requirements are around number of people who have to have a disability.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's a majority. So 51% of the membership needs to be people with individuals with disabilities. And then one for, the town person and one for the parent or guardian. So if that's the question, I don't want to go dive deeper into a different topic. I just want to make sure that membership is very clear within HA and very clear on the slide deck that we've just shared.
Next question about designated regions. Tiny Middlefield, Hampshire County, population 400, hello Middlefield, has to make use of service referrals outside of our small township. Are such services divided by county like housing services are? We are more accessible to Pittsfield in Berkshire County or Westfield, which is in Hampton County.
I'm trying to think the best resource for that might be a local independent living center, right? I don't know if I understand the question completely. I'm so sorry. Can you just read again? My mind's.
I think for any kind of service referrals they're making, which I don't know if we want to talk a little bit about that.
So service referrals. And typically, depending on the goal,
could they? It sounds like they might have to go outside of their own county.
Oh, definitely. If you know of resources, and this is what you should probably be planning with through setting up your operating procedures and your sample goals. Which goals are you actually going to take on? Every commission doesn't have to take on all of those goals that we just talked about, depending on the expertise at your table. Some of it might just be information and referral. Do you refer people to MOD? Do you refer people to the local Center for Independent Living that serves that region? They may know of many local services that can be offered there, much more than we might know at the state level. So they're definitely authorized to reach out to other organizations across the Commonwealth. I think that's, and even, depending, maybe even out of country, if there's resources, depending on what the question you get and the resources you can provide. But planning for that is kind of critical. Knowing if we get a housing question and we're not going to handle them internally, we might refer them to the housing authority. We might also refer them to the local Center for Independent Living to kind of have that discussion on what their concerns are, or leave the person there. So not every question that comes to the commission is going to be able to be answered by the commission, but you should do two things. One, make sure you have a nice referral for somebody, but also informing your appointing authority of what that issue was that was raised, or concerns that were raised. So that way people in power and in charge can start to understand that, okay, this person complained about some housing policies, and and if you're raising it up to your appointing authority, they might have some say or may have some sway to try to get that issue resolved as well.
Yep. Next, do you know where we can find a detailed list of what qualifies for community development block grant funds? For example, does movable equipment qualify, or accessible playground elements?
Yeah, you'd have to check with the CDBG funding parameters and the grant applications and things like that. If that's their policy, I'm just not an expert on CDBG. So I would suggest visiting their website, seeing what the parameters are, and talk to you if you have one, a CDBG coordinator in your local community. Could be someone that would be a resource to you.
Follow up to a previous question. Thank you for sharing. It's a quorum that dictates a discussion of members outside of the meeting. We have small project groups who do research and report back to the full COD. We have 13 seats. Can you talk more about liaisons and city staff contacting members directly and not through the chair?
That's a good question. Well,
Is that in the context of like one of these small working groups, or if the working group has a quorum of board members, it does need to be a public meeting, and oftentimes working groups are public meetings. If there isn't a quorum of board members in this small working group, then certainly they can meet without posting a notice if they're going to bring those recommendations materials back to the main board. But I guess I'm not understanding what the question is around the liaisons contacting board members other than the chairperson. Typically that communication should go through the chair. But if there's a small working group and the liaison is on it and the chair isn't on it, then certainly there will have to be some communication outside of that channel.
and just to kind of work on what Julia is saying, the first issue, like the first time that this is being asked of you, or like let's say the liaisons reach out to the secretary instead of the chairperson for a new project or a new idea, new things like that, that really should be handled through the chairperson through the regular commission meeting and then decided who the subcommittee would be. So if that's happening, you just want to remind the liaison that they really want to reach out to the chairperson to ensure that it starts from the top, and then it will get assigned to a subgroup if that's what the commission wants to do, or it could be a group thing where they invite you to their meeting. So, or you invite them to a regularly scheduled commission meeting. So, but as Julie was saying, if it's a subgroup and you've got this relationship and it's because of a specific project, then that can be handled by the subgroup and then reported back. But if it's reporting to the subgroup but new information about a different project that the subgroup's not involved in, then that should start with the chair. So typically always start with the chair, and when you're in subcommittees, then the subcommittee can be the leader, but then they go back to the commission to report fully what they find and educate the rest of the membership.
Cool. We've got time for one last question. I love this question. Can you make an easy way for all the CODs to connect, like an email that goes to all the CODs? Jeff, do you want to talk about our networking opportunities?
No. And I'm not sure, I'm hoping, through our statewide meetings, we're hoping to do that through our website, through our Commission on Disability website. We're working on ensuring that people in CODs who are out there can update their information on our website. It's a form you can submit. It will be updated in a reasonable period of time, but you can also look for other commissions using our searchable database or downloadable spreadsheet. So you can communicate and connect with other commissions. We're still working on trying to figure out some additional supports we can give to kind of foster that state initiative. So, just because, as I said earlier, that you could really link up with some of your local commissions, but, in the virtual age, we can connect with any other commission in the Commonwealth. I mean, Boston could connect with Pittsfield to work on a project, or, commissions as a whole. We usually will do, if there's something important, we'll do a blast email through our constant contact stuff for updates and news, updates and things. So if it's specific for commissions, we can tailor that to commissions. So I think it's something that we are still working on to figure out how we best implement that. But for right now, the COD webpage should be the starting point. And we're hoping that as we move through 2025, that your relationships with the ADA coordinator, building inspector, and Centers for Independent Living are also growing during that time. So when we can do this coordinated effort of communicating with all the commissions kind of all at once, we just need to figure out where we land with that and how we can do that technologically or programmatically. So we'll have to report back on that. Yeah, so I think we'll hold on that.
And we have a public listing of COD contacts on our website as well. So I'll put a link in the follow-up email. Definitely, if your municipality is not listed there, please fill out our form so we can add you. And you can find other COD contact information there if there's one in particular you want to reach out to. So thank you, everyone. There is a follow-up survey that will pop up when you close out. Please fill that out. We use your feedback to plan our next upcoming quarterly teas and improve our resources. So thank you.
And Lilia, just before we turn off the recording, I just want to introduce Ralph DeChico, who will also be a resource for commissions on disabilities. He's MOD's access specialist, and he worked closely with me. So I know I typically try to make time to come out to individual commission meetings on my own to do that. Ralph has graciously accepted that he will also be willing to do that as well. So as we develop, we'll have not just one person going out to a commission meeting. We may have others from our office that can do it as well. So I'm hoping Ralph will be another liaison and contact for you as a resource. So with that, thank you, Ralph, for coming on screen so people can see you and recognize that.
So. The faces behind the phone when you call MOD.
Definitely. All right.
Thank you, everyone.